Hi YouTube, Repo Man 64. I think I did that wrong. Yeah, I did that wrong. Let's see, how do I do this? There we go. Repo Man 64. I wanted to get back on here because something's been bugging me, and I found it. I figured it out. And I heard a few comments in the Discord, and I wanted to clarify something about what I read. So without further ado, when we are looking for our Lord to return, many say you can't know the day or the hour. They quote Matthew. We have learned that there are three distinct groups and then the 144,000. We have learned that Luke is speaking to the bride. We've learned that Mark is speaking to the tribulation saint, and Matthew is speaking to those who will go into the millennium and be tempted one last time at the end. With that in mind, I have gone through, and I need to do a lot more studying, but I'd like you to study too, and go through and study the subtle differences between Luke, Mark, and Matthew. I say Luke, Mark, and Matthew because they're in order. The last is the first, and the first is the last. We say, or I have heard it said, that a wicked generation seeks after a sign. That's true. What sign are they seeking after? What are they trying to figure out? When a Christian, when a bride, let me do this first here. When a bride is searching for the return in anticipation, it's because we're ordered to watch. Because we're ordered to watch, you'll read in Amos 3:7 and Revelations 3:3 that God will reveal everything, and he says if you don't watch, you will get caught unaware. He says that in Revelations 3:3. Here in Matthew, we have this parable of the 10 virgins. And the way I understand it, all 10 of these virgins are saved. Some people are calling them bridesmaids, but they're not. They are the bride. They did that because there's 10 of them. And how is Jesus going to marry 10 people? That's our example in Solomon. Solomon had 1,000 wives. I've got one, and not interested in another one. She's got me trained. And like Jay Justified says, he married up, and so did I. So I'm not messing with that. Very happy where I'm at. So here we are. We have 10 virgins. These virgins are brides. They're waiting for their husband to come. And he gives this parable of 10 virgins. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Bridesmaids are not going to meet the bridegroom. The brides are. 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Now, what does that mean? It's a bit of a hard thing to hear that 5 of them were left behind. Not only were they left behind, God actually says, leave. I don't even know you. Does anybody stop to think about how Rachel felt? How did she feel herself? Did she know that her father was going to put Leah in there? Do you suppose that the father told Rachel, hey, sorry, the older sister gets married first. That's Leah. That's the bride. How did Rachel feel? That must have been rough, you know. But what happened? The door was shut for 7 days, which represents 7 years. And ultimately, did he not wind up marrying Rachel as well? So as you can see here on these 10 virgins, he says, depart from me, for I knew you not. That night or that morning when Jacob woke up and realized what had just happened, He had to tell Rachel, sorry, your dad says I have to give her 7 days, and then we can get married. I personally, as I read it, and the reason I believe this is because she was barren. How would he know she was barren if he waited 7 years to marry her? He married her after 7 days. So he had 2 wives, and then he had wound up with 2 concubines on top of that. So, but the point is that they waited those 7 days, 7 years. The same thing is going to happen. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to hear, and I don't push too hard on this point because it's not my place. This is, like I said in my Discord, let's let God be God. He wrote this. We didn't. We follow it. We believe it. The 10 virgins are all saved. 5 of them are going to go as the bride before all these things happen. We're seeing it, the birth pangs, we're about to be delivered. But then 7 years later, he's going to get Rachel. He's going to get a great number, a multitude that no man can count. It's very large. It is a hard thing to tell somebody to say, hey, you might not be a bride, but you'll be a tribulation saint. And then you hear the bride going, oh, it's so bad. I don't want to see them suffer. It's so hard. This is not going to be a pretty time, but there's still a promise. There was still the promise. Always. There was never a doubt that Jacob was going to wind up with Rachel at the end. That doubt wasn't there. But how did Rachel feel during that period of time? She couldn't have felt good. I'm not saying that anybody's going to feel bad when we go to heaven, but I can tell you Rachel or the tribulation saint is not going to feel bad. So what is going through the tribulation saints' minds? So here we have, and I want to note, and this is what I want to point out, the subtle differences between these 3 gospels. And you can do it yourself. They're everywhere. A wicked generation seeks after a sign. I believe I am a bride. Isn't that awesome? But I believe that I'm going before all these things. So I'm watching. I've been watching for a long time, very long time. And not disheartened by any means, but wondering. And then I'll tell you something, 35 years ago when I started watching, and the next watch date was 10 years away or 5 years away, I don't want to say you're lucky, but you're lucky. You get a new date every week. Dr. Barry's on there saying, okay, that one passed. It's okay. Let's look at this one. And it's very uplifting for me. I don't know about you, but for me, this event, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to be talking and bam, we're going to be gone that quick. That's how fast this is going to happen. And it is going to happen. So I wanted to point out another difference in these 3 gospels. And you got to pay real close attention while you read these 3 gospels to understand what's going on. Here we have the interpreting the present time. And even here it references Matthew and Mark. Here it says Jesus is actually upset. Who's he talking to? He's not talking to the Pharisees. He's not talking to the Sadducees. He's talking to the people. And he said also to the people, when ye see the cloud rise out of the west, straightway you say, there cometh a shower. And so it is. And when ye see south wind blow, you say, there will be heat, and it cometh to pass. And then he says, you hypocrites. Now who's he talking to? He's talking to he's talking to the bride. And he's basically saying here, you need to be watching and paying attention. If you can discern the weather, you should be able to discern this stuff. It says, ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and the earth, but how is it that you do not discern this time? How do you not see what I'm telling you right now? I've been in this for a long time, and I'm not going to stop. I've never seen anything like this. The stuff that the Bible said was going to come to pass is right in front of me. It's right in front. I can't even believe it's here. When I thought about this 30 years ago, let's see. And I'll tell you, when the barcode came out and they discovered, it says 666 in there. This is a warning. This was a warning. 30 years ago, we would go to the store and we would actually look to see if the barcode had that number in it, and it sure did. The first were 2 long lines, the middle was 2 long lines, and the end was 2 long lines. I learned that a long time ago, and we thought, well, if we buy this, have we bought into the mark of the beast? And we're like, I don't even know. And then I personally believe that there's an allegiance that comes along with this mark, that you're God-given. I have God-given DNA. God made me. He knit me together carefully. And what is this? I'm going to paraphrase, but with care. He knit me together with care in my mother's womb, and I am a product. It doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter if I'm 6 foot tall. It doesn't matter if I weigh 100 pounds or 400 pounds. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. That's not what he sees when he sees you. He sees your DNA. I believe that this mark, you're going to, or not you, but there's going to be people that just, we have this, aliens have landed, and they're the ones who put us here on this planet, allowing us to develop, and they have this mark that they put on you. Yeah, it's going to change your DNA. You weren't created by God anyway. No big deal. But you're going to become like God. Isn't that what the lie was told in the Garden of Eden? You're going to become just like God himself, and you're going to be strong. Instead of being 6 foot tall, you're going to be 7 foot tall. Instead of being overweight or having medical issues, you're going to be powerful, and that's where people are going to line up for this mark, in my opinion. Now, we have in the Discord, which I'm going to put a link down below, where we discuss these things with level heads and Bible verses. Level heads and Bible verses. All right, so I just read that to you. What does that say? It says you better be watching, doesn't it? Now let's look at the next one. The Luke group is the bride. The Mark group, tribulation saint. Here's the tribulation saint. And the Pharisees came forth and began to question him, seeking of him a sign from heaven, tempting him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit, and saith, why doth this generation seek after a sign? Verily I say unto you, there shall no sign be given unto this generation. And he left them, and entering into the ship, again departed to the other side. They're not going to see it. They're not going to see it. They're not going to see the sign. There will be no sign given to them. They are not going to believe any of this until it's too late. Until, I'm guessing, but as I read the Bible, there's going to be 10,000 times 10,000s and thousands upon thousands. I think it says thousands and myriads of thousands. If it was going to be 200 million, he would have just said 20,000 times 10,000, but he didn't. He said 10,000 times 10,000s and myriads of thousands. So I'm going with the 156 fish that were pulled to the shore. They couldn't bring them into the boat. They had to actually pull them to shore. And I'm guesstimating 156 million people. They, after we're gone, that will be their sign. They'll have a moment. They will have a wake-up call at that moment. What happened to 1 in 55 people are going to disappear? It's going to be crazy that day. It's going to be something else. But then guess what? The great deception comes. The lie. It was aliens. Or, God took them out of the way because they just wouldn't conform to the rest of the world. God loves everyone. No matter what you do, he loves us and he forgives our sins. We don't really, have to worry about anything. It's a great lie. Now let's read Matthew. Not only is it the Sadducees, the Pharisees, now it's also the Sadducees came, tempting, desired him that he would show them a sign. Now they're not just asking for a sign, they're literally asking Jesus himself for a sign. They still won't buy into this. As a sign from heaven, he answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye shall say, it shall be fair weather. He goes back to the weather thing. Foul weather, discern the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the time. So they get, it would appear to me that at the end of the 7 years, they get a bigger sign than the Matthew group does, I think. The Mark group, I'm sorry. This is the Matthew group. So a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. I struggled with that for a minute. I'm like, I'm looking for a sign. Am I going to get a warning from Damascus 3 days in advance? Am I going to, the ship, the Ever Given, just left the port and it's just lingering out there in the ocean. Is that my sign? And that happened exactly 3 days before today, the 10th, and it also happened today is 7 days before the 9th of Av, So, but what does it say? What does it say in Luke? And who is Luke speaking to? It doesn't tell us we're not supposed to watch. It doesn't tell us that, as a matter of fact, it says you're a hypocrite if you aren't watching. You can discern the sky, but you can't discern when we're coming back. So, I wanted to put that out there. I found that little tidbit there of the three differences in the Gospels. And if you go through Matthew, Mark, and Luke and just go back and forth, you yourself are going to discover these three different groups of people. And I want to give you some comfort in this fact. And that's the problem that I see. The biggest problem I see right now is if you're not a bride, you're going to hell. That is not true. That's not even close to true. If you are not a bride, you are a tribulation saint. You are going to go through and be tried by fire. It's a different dispensation. There was a dispensation before the flood. There was a dispensation after the flood, all the way up to the law of Moses. There was a dispensation from Moses all the way up to Jesus. We are in the dispensation of grace right now. There's going to be a dispensation of the tribulation saint. Then there's going to be a dispensation of 1,000 years for those who, they didn't accept Jesus, but they didn't receive the mark. They got their heads chopped off. They go into the millennial. Who reigns over them? That is going to be the bride who goes to the third heaven. That is going to be the tribulation saint who goes to paradise, a great number that no man can count. We're given this rod to rule over who? Everybody who's over there in the millennial reign. So I wanted to give you. We have a guy in the Discord. He's pretty adamant about the fact that ultimately everyone. And I have to study this more, honestly. But ultimately, everyone in Adam died, but Jesus came to save the whole world, and ultimately everyone will be saved at the end through each dispensation, which that's something I need to study. That's quite heavy, actually. I wish he'd feed it to me a little bit slower because that's some heavy stuff right there. But anyway, RepoMan64, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and put a link to the Discord in the bottom. Come on in there. Let's have discussions over this stuff. I tell you what, I'm learning so much from you all, and everybody in there is fantastic and nice, and there's different rooms. Let's say you don't believe in a particular room. It's named something. The rooms are named different things. Let's just say I don't believe in that. Don't go in the room. Go into another room where you can actually learn from that room. And let's discuss stuff. I'm learning so much from you guys on Discord. I love it when you come in there. So remember, go to a quiet place. I don't know how to go back to where I was. Oh, there I am. There we go. Oh, that didn't work at all. I don't know what happened. Here it is. Remember, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know. You don't need to tell anybody. Accept the Lord into your heart. That's first and foremost before anything else. Pray, kneel down, humble yourself, and pray before the Father that created you, knit you together so carefully and so wonderfully in your mother's womb. And let's look forward to this date. We're the bride. We're supposed to be watching. We're going to get a sign. We're going to know. The other groups, no sign. No sign will be given. So, talk to you later. Let's see how I do this now. Oh, I have to escape.